Hi, Yosmar.
Hi, Miriam. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you for doing this.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
I like your red frame.
Oh, thank you. I'm wondering if I should move locations or hold on this way so I don't have the light. Let me see if I can clean this camera a bit and get a better view. Kind of. Ay, ay, ay. Thank you.
Hi, Susan. Susan?
Hey.
I'm talking with Yosmar offline. Nobody can hear us.
Well, I can now.
I know, because
Hey,
you're the
Yosmar.
coordinator.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
I'm gonna turn y'all up.
Yeah. So, Yosmar, I wanted to give you the admin rights right now.
Okay.
And I am trying to, how am I gonna do this?
I have no idea.
disappear. You disappear. Okay. Yosmar, where are you? Yosmar Martinez. Make host, a co-host, okay?
Yeah.
Now you have access, okay? I gotta open the chat room, it's 7 o'clock, okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Participant. Hi, everybody. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Miriam.
Everybody should be, we lost Jim Martin from Atlanta. He's rejoining us. Hi, everybody, welcome.
Hi.
Hola, Miriam.
Hey, amor, ¿cómo estás?
Súper bien, ¿y tú? Qué bueno verte, un
Besos,
abrazo.
hermano, besos. A
Hello.
Spanish 101 for everybody.
Yes, saludos a todos desde Sarasota.
I know, Paco, so good to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you too. Lovely, lovely to see you.
Yeah.
I can only stay for a few minutes. I'm sorry for having to skip out because we have company tonight at 7:30. So, and I'm cooking. So.
Oh my goodness, what are you cooking?
Oh, we're doing a chicken dish on the barbecue. Something simple, not too complicated.
All right.
They feel good.
Yosmar, ¿cómo estás? It's great to see you. Bien, you look beautiful as always.
Thank you. Thank you.
I need to, we're having a, oh, there's Jim. Hi, Jim.
Hello.
That's Jim Martin, the co-coordinator extraordinaire from Atlanta.
Hey, Jim.
Hi there. How you doing?
Good.
I tell you, Atlanta's chapter rocks.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, amazing what they do. Amazing. So,
It's all about the relaxing.
yeah. We're hoping to start here in about 3 more minutes or so. There are people still coming in. There's a time difference. The Southwestern Wisconsin, I invited them. I think that they're a fairly new chapter, and they really appreciated us.
Wisconsin is here.
Hey, and there's another co-coordinator. Welcome.
Thanks for the invitation. Excited to be here.
What a nice background on your photo. Where is that at?
The Camino del Norte.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow.
And I'm eating dinner, so I'm going to leave my camera off.
Oh, that's okay. You and Paco both are cooking. How is your husband?
He is great. He's doing very well.
Hi, Miriam.
Hi. I'm going to be over for dinner soon. I'm bringing some wine.
Perfect. Thanks for the invitation, Yosmar. Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it too. I appreciate you all being here.
Okay, somebody's having a hard time. Just tested me. They're having a hard time logging in. I don't understand. But I don't know what's happening. Okay. Well, we're waiting for at least one more minute. Yosmar, it's a wonderful presentation. We're gonna have more people join us, and as they come in, I'll let them in. Oh, there's somebody else. Okay. All right. Yosmar?
Mm-hmm.
So folks, it's 7:05, so we're gonna go ahead and start. There are gonna be participants coming in, and I'll let them in. I'll monitor that. But let's see, Susan, where are you? Susan, say hello. Susan Pica.
Hello, everyone. Good to have you.
Susan and I are the co-coordinators of Jacksonville chapter, and we are delighted to have Yosmar Martinez with us. You saw the biography, you saw how accomplished Yosmar is. We are so excited to have her. We're delighted. We're grateful that you say yes, Yosmar.
I'm grateful for the invitation.
And Yosmar has not only been Yosmar is not only an award-winning bestseller author of this particular book. I hope you can see it. Taste of the Camino is absolutely fabulous. But she's also an experienced member of the American Pilgrim. She served on the board for like forever. And if it was up to the chapters and other board members, she would have stayed there for the next 20 years. But she's also an experienced pilgrim. She's walked numerous Camino, including the Camino Coro. We are, there's more people coming in, super excited to have Yosmar here. So Yosmar, as we would say, if we were in person, the floor is yours. So the Zoom is yours.
Okay, well, thank you, Miriam and Susan, for asking me to do this. Anyone that knows me knows that I love talking about food and the Camino and foods of the Camino. Obviously, we never know how any particular day is going to turn out in our lives. And today hasn't been a really good day for me. I've had a lot of unexpected stuff coming towards me. A little bit first world problems, but it's so nice to end the day talking to a bunch of pilgrims and talking about food. So I'm really appreciative of this opportunity, more than you can probably imagine. Anyway, so I've got a PowerPoint, so I'm going to share my screen here with you guys. And I'll talk and I'll make a few stops along the way and then take questions. I actually in the chat box, and I'll look at them from time to time. I'm not the best at multitasking when I'm doing a Zoom presentation, but I'll remind myself to stop and look at the questions. So let me share my screen, and here we go. Slideshow from start. So I'm calling it Camino Palates Unknown. It's a culinary journey throughout various roads to Santiago. Like Miriam said, I've walked a few Caminos, and I tried to create this presentation based on the Caminos that I've walked. It's a virtual journey. Unfortunately, we'll talk about food, but we won't actually be eating it. And of course, what I'll be sharing today is not exhaustive of everything you'll find along the Camino. I'm focusing on what the region's well known for. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the foods of Spain and the foods of the Camino. The foods of Spain, there's usually a dichotomy when we talk about the foods of Spain, because on one hand, it's a leader in gastronomic innovation, being at the forefront of molecular gastronomy and with a high incidence of Michelin-starred restaurants. But on the other hand, it's very traditional with popular roots. And the foods of the Camino fall mostly in the second category. We're talking about traditional meals that focus on the freshness of the ingredients, that are rustic and down to earth, barely embellished and uncomplicated, and that really bring out the conviviality of the Spanish table and creates community. And also, I like to say it's the true farm to table. In the US, we use that term very loosely, or restaurants use it very loosely, but in Spain, and they use it very loosely and it's trendy, etc. But in Spain, it's really not a trend or a movement. It's actually a way of living. It's not uncommon to eat at a restaurant where the vegetables come from their own orchard right next door. And of course, the food is completely satisfying. So the first Camino the first route we're gonna talk is about the French route. And so the first region we're gonna talk about is the French Basque country. Well, these are the routes we're going to be exploring today. Camino Frances, I don't know why it's not, okay. Camino Frances, Camino del Norte, Camino Primitivo. And the first route we're gonna be talking about is the French Basque country. The French Basque country has a flat coastline flush against mountainous interior, as these pictures show you. It's known for its ham, its poultry, its sheep. Remember those sheep while you were going over the Pyrenees? Its pastries and its cherries. And two of the most emblematic dishes of the region are poulet à la Basque, which is basically braised chicken with onions, peppers, tomatoes, and garnished with crispy ham, cured ham, and parsley, and also gâteau basque. Gâteau basque is, it's almost like a sandwich cake in that the dough is made out of almonds, and it's filled with pastry cream, and sometimes pastry creams and preserved cherries. So, okay. Then the next region we're talking about is Navarra. Navarra, as you see in this picture, it has rolling hills and vast fields with many rivers and streams with cold, clean, oxygen-rich water, ideal for fish and trout in particular. That's why one of the most well-known dishes of the area is trucha a la Navarra, which is basically pan-fried trout that's been stuffed with jamón serrano. And, it creates a really nice contrast, the meatiness of the ham with the delicate flesh of the fish. It's also known for its piquito peppers. Piquito peppers are delicate peppers that are slightly sweet and have no heat. They derive their name from the word for small beak in Spanish. The harvest takes place in September. The peppers are always hand-picked and roasted over coals, then peeled and de-seeded by hand before being packed in jars so it's not uncommon for you to be walking along the Camino at the right season and find people roasting these peppers and then putting them in jars. Another thing the region is known as for its white asparagus. White asparagus, for those that you may not know, white asparagus, for those that may not know, are the same as green asparagus, but grown without daylight. And this basically prevents photosynthesis from taking place, and that is the process that produces the green coloring in plants. So basically the stalks of the asparagus, as they're coming out of the ground, they're packed with dirt, and they're packed with dirt to cover it, to create a shelter from the sunlight, and that's what keeps the white color. And then once they're fully grown, they're cut below the surface of the dirt and then cleaned. And that's why you get that white color. They tend to be more delicate and sweeter than green asparagus, and often are served, as you see in this picture, with alioli. Alioli is a form of mayonnaise that traditionally was made just with olive oil and garlic, and whisked to a point where if you flip the container, it wouldn't fall off. Nowadays, a lot of people add an egg yolk to it, and that makes it more stable. So that's the region of Navarra. Now we walk into La Rioja. La Rioja is rolling hills lined with vineyards and olive groves. It's better known for its wine than its food. But one of the most emblematic dishes of the La Rioja, and as you see, the grapes and the olives, those are pictures that I took on the Camino itself. And one of the most famous dish is patatas a la riojana, which is a potato and chorizo stew. This is a dish that my mother would in Spanish call levanta muerto, which means raises the dead, because it's so hearty and it's great for when you're ill or on a really cold day or a wet day. It's that good. Then we go on to Castilla y León. Castilla y León is the biggest region of the Camino Frances. You have vast plains and flatlands with drier climate. Most of you that have walked the Camino will recognize this. It's La Meseta. There's a lot of wheat grown in the area.
That looks familiar.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? A lot of wheat grown, and that lends itself to bread-based soups. One of the most famous soups is sopa de ajo on the left. And sopa de ajo is like peasant food at its finest. First-class peasant food, and which basically it's water, eggs, garlic, and bread. And it sounds kind of bland, but trust me, it's not. And then another bread-based soup is particularly from the town of Hospital de Órbigo, is called sopa de truchas, or trout soup. And it's similar to the sopa de ajo. It's bread-based, but it's topped with trout, and it has pimentón de vera, or Spanish paprika. What else is the region known? It's known for its legumes, lentils, beans, chickpeas. This is a lentil soup. It's one of the most popular dishes, one of the most popular soups along the Camino. It's filled with protein and flavor. I know a lot of you in this group cook it, so I've seen your pictures. And if you're into meat, one of the most delicious dishes in Castilla y León is lechazo, and that's milk-fed lamb. And one of my favorite from the city of Astorga, or the area around Astorga, is called the cocido maragato. The Maragatos are an ethnic and cultural community believed to be the last remaining Moors in Spain. And they have focused their business on agriculture and mule driving. So due to their hard physical work, they needed a filling meal in just one course, hence the cocido maragato. It contains a soup, cabbage, chickpeas, and 7 types of meat, plus dessert. If you heard of other cocidos like the cocido montañés or the cocido madrileño, it's somewhat similar. It probably has all the same courses, but the thing that is the outstanding particularity in the opposite order. For other Spanish cocidos consist first of the soup, then the vegetables and chickpeas, and finally the meat. The cocido maragato starts with the meat and works its way back. And the reason for that is, as I said, they need one course, one meal, fulfilling meal that can take out to the fields. And they usually take them in these like metal containers where the meat's on top, and then all the juices of the meat, when they're cooking it first, the meat's on top, all the juices of the meat fall on the vegetables, giving it flavor. And then they accumulate at the bottom, creating the broth for the soup. So, and they carry it in these containers in that exact same order, hence why they eat it in that order. I don't recommend that you go have this for dinner. I recommend this as a late lunch and as your one meal of the day. It's quite heavy. And then we walked into Galicia. Galicia, as most of you know, it's rugged and lush terrain near the ocean. It's wet, it's unpredictable climate. It's historically a less economically developed area, dairy farming and fishing. And some of the dishes that are more emblematic of the region are the Empanada Gallega, which is essentially a flat pie, often made with some sort of fish like cod or tuna, or even seafood like scallops. It's very common. The dough is different than many pies that you may be used to in that it doesn't contain butter. Instead, it contains olive oil. I've also heard some people that if you're using some sort of seafood or canned seafood, they'll use the olive oil that comes in that canned seafood for the dough, which I think is very creative. Then we have the caldo gallego. The caldo gallego is a Galician white bean and green soup. I first had it in Seberero. Again, it's a hearty soup, great for cold weather. The times I've been in Seberero, it's been quite chilly. So it's really filling and has a lot of sustenance, I mean, not substance, sustenance. And then on one of the most famous things in Galicia is pulpo a la fera or pulpo a gallega, and the Galician octopus. Basically, it's boiled octopus. You boil the octopus for about 40 minutes to an hour, depending on the size. Then you snip it into little pieces, serve it over potatoes that they call cachelos in Galicia, and sprinkle it with olive oil, drizzle it with olive oil and sprinkle it with Spanish paprika or pimentón de vera. That's a very traditional dish of the area. One of the most common questions I get is, well, why is Melide, which is inland, the capital, the octopus capital of the world, or Spain? And it has to do with the fact that in the old days, there was a lot of cattle auctions in the area, and usually cattle auctions and company fairs. And octopus, it was readily available, inexpensive in that area. And this particular preparation of octopus is really easy to prepare. It takes time, but it's easy to prepare. So it became very popular in that area. Some of the vendors in the fairs eventually established themselves as restaurants in the area, etc. So, and then there's a boatload of seafood in the area. Hold on. Oh, I forgot the pimientos de padrón. Oh yeah, here's the seafood, sorry. There's a boatload of seafood in the area. This particular picture is samburiñas a la plancha, which are baby scallops on the grill. They're basically cooked on the grill, drizzled with garlic, olive oil, and parsley, and a little bit of lemon juice. It's incredibly fresh and simple preparation. I mean, remember, one of the beauties of the Camino that we always talk is about simplicity. The food along the Camino is also the preparation is very simple. If you really look at it, it may seem extravagant to us because we don't have this much seafood in the area, but it's really simple overall. And have goosenecks, barnacles, percebes, which are a delicacy and quite pricey because the harvesting of percebes is really hard. You have razor shell clams, which are amazing, and then all sorts of mussels and clams and lobster, etc. And then we're going to go on to the pimientos de padrón. Pimientos de padrón are basically a green pepper that's about 2 to 3 inches, and the preparation, again, incredibly simple. They're sauteed with a little bit of olive oil and then drizzled with sea salt. They tend to be mild, except every now and then there might be one in a whole batch that's a little bit spicier. So it's always like, who's getting the spiciest of all, or the spicy one. And then we go into the cheeses that you will find along the Camino Frances. Galicia has 4 cheeses that have the designation Denominación de Origen. And 3 of those are on the Camino Frances. One's on the Camino Primitivo, but you can find them all over Galicia. The first one's Seberero, and it comes from the town of Seberero. It's the one on the top left. As you see, it has a shape of like a mushroom hat, chef's hat or a mushroom. And it's aged anywhere from 2 days to 6 weeks. If you're eating a very young one, it's going to be creamy, acidic, and very spreadable. If you are eating a more mature one, it'll be firm and more piquant. Then as you continue walking, you'll get the Arzua Ulloa. It's cylindrical in shape with rounded edges. That's on the top right. And it's matured for at least 6 days. It's a soft cheese, not as spreadable as a young Seberero. It's low in salt and a slightly acidic touch. Then I guess the most infamous cheese of Galicia is the Titia Cheese, the one on the bottom left. It's shaped like a woman's breast, and hence its name. It's aged anywhere between 10 and 30 days. And it's quite elastic, yet firm. It has a yellow skin with soft, creamy interior. It has a buttery mouthfeel, low acidity, low salt, and mild taste. All these 3 cheeses in particular, not the 4th one so much, are very conducive to being enjoyed with something that's slightly sweeter, like quince paste or membrillo, or honey and nuts, or some sort of compote. But they can also be enjoyed by themselves, or with a bread that you'll find on the Camino Sanabres called pan de sea. It's a very rustic bread it's made from a town on the Camino Sanabres, but you find it all over Galicia, pan de sea. The 4th cheese is the one on the bottom right. It's called San Simón da Costa. It has a similar shape to the tortilla, but a little bit more elongated. It's smoked for a few hours over birch wood and then aged between 30 to 45 days. It has a dark tan exterior with a firm interior. And it's very aromatic and smoky, and the taste is mild and buttery. Then we're going to talk about my favorite thing of Galicia and the Camino Frances is the Tarta de Santiago. It's a very simple cake to make. Remember, I keep stressing simplicity. So I keep stressing simplicity, very simple cake to make. It's basically made out of 3 ingredients: eggs, sugar, and almonds, and with a few extra flavorings like maybe cinnamon or orange zest or lemon zest or even orange zest or almond extract, depending on your taste. Then we're getting into libations, a few libations. The most famous one is orujo. Orujo is a liquor made out of pomace. Pomace is the solids left after pressing grapes. And orujo really comes in 4 varieties for the most part. The first one is clear, and that's like fire water. And that you'll see on the bottom right. Next to it, to the left, is the crema or cream. It's somewhat similar to Bailey. Above that, you'll see hierbas. It has kind of a yellow greenish tone, and basically it's infused with a mix of herbs. And then to the right of that one, you'll see the dark color, which is the coffee one. That one is quite potent and will keep you up. I think the combination of coffee and alcohol is quite potent. And then the clear one is also used to make queimada. Queimada is this flambé drink that has clear orujo, coffee beans, orange peel, lemon peel, and sugar. And then it's lit on fire. And while it's lit on fire, there's an incantation which call to the 4 elements to purify the drink. Whoever has dog barking, can you mute yourself, please? So a call, there's incantation with a call to the 4 elements to purify the drink and share it with the souls of family and friends who cannot be present to enjoy the quemada. So to me, that's like a perfect drink that really embodies community, because you're even trying to bring people that are no longer with you into the conversation. So before we go on to the Camino Portugués, I'm gonna stop and take answers. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so I can see the chat box, because right now I can't see the chat box, or take questions. I see no questions. Does anyone have a question so far? If not, I'll go back to sharing my screen and we'll move on.
I do have a comment, Yosmar. I was raised eating flan in Cuba, and your recipe in the book is the best flan I have had since my mom passed away.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it is exquisite. And I know that a lot of people, a lot of pilgrims, when they're on the Camino, they think that they're eating the real thing. If you're interested in Yosmar's recipe, is amazing. She has a great flan recipe. Where do you find, what region on the Camino Frances do you find the best flan? What area?
Ooh, I think if I have to say, the restaurant doesn't exist anymore, but I had a great flan in Carrión de los Condes, and then another one, great one, and I don't know if that restaurant exists or not, in Castro Jerez. But I don't know there's a particular region. What I find on the Camino Frances is those regions that, usually the difference is, I always ask, even when they're doing the pilgrim menu, is it de la casa? Because if it's not de la casa, it usually comes like pre-manufactured in a plastic cup and they just pop it out. And I don't like those flans as much.
The same thing that with eggs or not with eggs, they say, yeah?
Most flans are made with eggs. I've actually never had a flan not made with eggs.
Quejada, maybe?
What?
Am I thinking about quejada?
Yeah, but the one difference on flan that I find a lot of people ask me, and I've had it both ways, is, and I'll explain the difference. There are people that eat flans made with condensed milk. Well, this flan and that's very South American, using condensed milk. While in Spain, they use milk and sugar. And it does create a slightly different texture. And I've had this debate with my South American friends, which one's better? And I think as long as you have the right proportion of sugar and milk and eggs, you should be able to create similar end results. Doing it the South American way with condensed milk might be easier, but it's not traditional Spanish.
Yosmar, you have some questions on the chat.
What regions of the thick hot chocolate? Yes, that is from Astorga. Chocolate a la taza and churros. Chocolate a la taza is from Astorga. The curious thing about Astorga is considered, I'm trying to see, is considered the chocolate capital of Spain. And the reason being is when the Spaniards brought chocolate back from the New World, the first place it landed in, well, not the first place it landed, but where it was first consumed was Astorga. So that kind of became the chocolate. Yeah, I see you have your hand up. Do you have a question, Bea? Okay. And let's see if there's more in the chat.
I'm sorry, B, do you have a question from Yosmar?
Well, a moment away, I was able to see the pictures of the food, and all of a sudden it changed to the people, the faces. I see Miriam, I see Yosmar Martinez, and I see Pollack. But I would like to see the food again, and I don't know what to do here to go back to seeing the food.
No, we will go back to the food. I just stopped the presentation so I could take questions, so I could see people's hands up and I could take their questions because I couldn't see the chat before. Okay?
Yeah, Josmar, I understand that, but this happened before when you were giving the presentation. All of a sudden, it just changed to people, and no, I couldn't see the food anymore. I don't know why.
It's
I know.
probably your screen, B.
Is my what? Okay, well, it's okay. I don't know how to change it again.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So if there are no other questions, I'm going to keep on going to the Camino Portugués. Okay. The Camino Portugués, I think the most infamous dish on the Camino Portugués is Baccalaureate Salt Cod. And anytime well, before I get to that, it said that in Portugal, there's 365 ways of preparing bacalhau, and some say over 1,000 ways of serving it. And anytime I talk about bacalhau, people ask me, well, what is salt cod? Salt cod is basically cod that has been preserved in salt. And they're not, well, why do you do that?
What's that? I could have told you that.
And that is, it eliminates the need for refrigeration. And in the old days, not everybody had refrigeration, and it's good for transport. And it would travel easy. And then the next question I used to get is, why would we eat salt cod when we nowadays can have fresh fish, and we don't need, and most of us have refrigeration? And the answer is flavor. When white fish is preserved in salt, its texture becomes showier and the taste is milder and almost sweeter than its fresh counterpart. And here are some, hold on one second, some preparations of salt cod. This is bacalhau brass style cod, and with olives, sauteed onions, parsley, it's shredded.
What does brass mean? Brass style, what does that mean?
A brass style, that's what I was explaining. Most of the bacalhau dishes in Portugal always take the name of the person that created it, Brass, or the neighborhood it was created. Brass is a neighborhood in Lisbon. And so it's a preparation with olives and sauteed onions, and it goes in the oven. Okay. Like another name that you'll hear is bacalhau a Gomes-Sá. Gomes-Sá is the name of a person who created it. So. And then another dish that you'll find on the Camino Portugués, particularly in the town of Porto, is a francesinha, little French one. And it's kind of a spin-off on the French croque monsieur and croque madame, in that it's a sandwich with a few different meats, like sausages and meat and ham. And it has a sauce on top. A croque madame or croque monsieur has a bechamel sauce. This one has a tomato beer sauce on top. And then it's with cheese on top and a fried egg on top. So it's a heavy, heavy dish, but it's amazing. So what else can I tell you? And it's typically served with French fries. And it derives its name because it's somewhat similar in construction to the French croque madame, although the flavors are completely different. The other thing the Camino Portugués is really famous for is its convent sweets. The most famous being pastel de nata. It's a Portuguese egg custard. Portugal's a very religious country with a lot of convents and monasteries. And it's said that the egg whites were used to starch the habits, and then they had all these egg yolks left over. And so a lot of their sweets are based out of egg yolks and sugar. And this is the most famous one. Also, the egg whites were used in addition to starching habits, also to clarify wine. And some of these sweets also derive their name from the name of the convent or the monastery. So pastel de nata is also sometimes known as pastel de Belém, because it came from a monastery next to the Tower of Belém in Lisbon. Others have religious names such as Barriga de Feira, which means the nun's belly, or Papo de Anjo, which means angel's double chin, or Tocinho do Céu is like a little piece of bacon, a little piece of bacon in heaven, Tocinho do Céu. And then I guess one of the most famous beverages from the Camino Portugues is port wine, which is essentially a fortified wine, particular from the Porto region. So again, I'm going to stop the presentation at this point and take any questions. This way I can see if you have written questions or if you want to make mention something. Any comments or questions? No? Okay, so I'll go back to sharing my screen and we'll talk about the Camino del Norte. The first region while you're walking the Camino del Norte is the Basque Country. The Basque Country is the Western Pyrenees and the Bay of Biscayne. It has dramatic mountains juxtaposed with breathtaking sea views, and it's a very prosperous area known for amazing hiking. This is a picture I took while walking the Camino del Norte. It's known for its pinchos culture, its fish, and its seafood. It's a region also known for its bacalao. These are the pinchos. This is a pinchos bar in San Sebastian that focuses on pinchos made mostly of cod. It's amazing. And then here are 2 cod preparations that are very typical of this region. Bacalao pil pil, which is the one on the left. It's basically cod served with an emulsion made of the juices of fish, olive oil, and garlic. And then on the right, you have the Vizcaína sauce, bacalao with Vizcaína sauce, which is a red sauce made exclusively from red onions and a particular type of pepper called choricero. These peppers are similar to bell peppers in that they are large, mild in flavor and quite fleshy red peppers. Another dish from the region is marmitaco, and it's a Basque style, hold on one second, Basque style potato and tuna stew. And again, this is another of those dishes that I like to refer to as levanta muerto. It's very hearty and great for a cold weather day. Sorry.
Oh, pretty.
Then we go to Cantabria. Cantabria is part of green Spain. It's a flat coastal plains, as you can see, butting against the Cantabria Mountains and the Picos de Europa. It's priced, its most famous thing is their anchovies. And the town that is famous for its anchovies is called Santoña. If you don't like anchovies, I challenge you to try these anchovies and tell me if you don't like them, because they're very different from most anchovies you find in this country.
They're so good.
Yeah, aren't they?
Are.
They're firm, they're flexible, they're meaty. They're never stiff or shrivel like sometimes you find here. Then we'll go on to the Camino, still part of the Camino del Norte Primitivo is Asturias. Oh, this is an entree that I like to prepare. It's anchovies with membrillo on brioche. So I just wanted to show that, you know, the sweetness of the membrillo really well, that's the saltiness of the anchovies. And then we go to Asturias. Asturias is more inland in the mountainous Picos de Europa. It's also part of Green Spain. It's an area known for its really hearty dishes with tons of substance. Some of the dishes are fabada. Fabada is Asturian white bean and chorizo stew, as well as cachopo. Cachopo is breaded veal stuffed with ham and cheese. What I found in Asturias is that sometimes just the first course is so heavy that I couldn't get to the second course, because the food in this region is really heavy. The portions are big. yet they're so amazing. Like you never, sometimes you in the US, you think of places with large portions and you're like, oh, but the quality of the food is not great. Not here. The quality of the food is amazing. It's a region also very well known for its cheeses. And the most famous one being Cabarrales, which is a blue cheese that is wrapped in ivy leaves, or at least used to be wrapped in ivy leaves. Now they wrap it in foil. And it's one of the most prized Spanish cheeses in the market. It's not cheap, but it's so yummy. And then there's so many variations of it in the region of Asturias. The other thing the region is known for is its cider. Over 500 varieties of apples are grown in this region. Its cider is different from any cider you may have tried elsewhere. It's fermented only once. Most ciders fermented twice, and it's only fermented using the wild yeast naturally occurring on the apple skins. A lot of cider is created by adding carbon dioxide, and therefore it's a little bit more effervescent and more alcoholic than the natural cider from Asturias. The serving and consumption of Asturian cider, to me, highlights everything that it's about. It's a drink that creates community and should never be consumed. The serving is a tad theatrical, as you see in this picture. Hold on. And in this picture, they raise the bottle above the person's head, and then they tilt the glass, and then they pour it, and the string falls into hits the internal edge of the glass and falls into the glass. And they only serve like 2 inches into the glass. And the reason, first of all, the reason they serve it from such a height and let it hit the edge of the glass before it lands to the bottom of the glass is to help create effervescence. And then, it's almost like shaking a bottle of soda. The more you move it, the more effervescence you're going to have. And that's exactly what you're doing there. And then the reason why you only serve 1 or 2 inches of it at a time is because it loses its effervescence quickly. So you want to just serve a bit, drink it, refill, drink it, refill, and keep on going, instead of serving a whole glass of cider all at once. So yeah, and consuming it this way ensures the cider is its most flavorful and doesn't lose its effervescence. One of the things that the Asturians say about their cider is the following: we may have lost paradise because of the apple, but we'll get it back with the cider. It's a saying that I love, and I think it's very, even for the non-religious, it's So with that, I want to take questions or comments or just have a fun conversation about food in general.
There is a question for you about drinking red wine with Coca-Cola.
Yeah, what is the name of that drink? It's consumed, I think, I forget the name of that drink. It's not Tinto de Verano, but there's a particular name for it.
Alimocho.
Pardon?
Alimocho.
Alimocho. Thank you. Who said that? Jim? Or was it someone else? I don't know who said that, but whoever was, I really appreciate that.
Someone else, wasn't me.
Okay. Yes, alimocho. Yeah, I've had it. It's quite nice. I prefer Tinta de Verano, red soda. I mean, with clear soda. It's very refreshing, and particularly in the summer months. So, what else? What else do you guys want to know?
Oh, we had it a lot.
What was the name of the cod stew that you mentioned? I didn't write it down. I wasn't fast enough.
Okay, cod stew in Portugal or in the Basque Country?
In the Basque Country.
In the Basque Country, there's 2 that are very famous. One is, well, it's not a stew. You maybe think of the tuna stew.
Oh, tuna. I'm sorry. Yes, the tuna.
Tuna stew is called marmitaco, And then the two cod, the tuna is marmitako, M-A-R-M-I-T-A-K-O. And I will share my screen again
And the cold one is
and go
bacalao.
to that picture. Here we go. Hold on, I went too fast here. Oh,
Oop,
that one. So
that one,
that's
yeah.
Marmitako de Bonito. So
Got it. Thank you.
you're welcome. Oh, and I will, hold on, let me go back to the end of the, and then I will take the presentation so I can see. My website's whiskandspatula.com. My email is yosmar@whiskandspatula.com. I respond to everybody that writes me an email with questions. I've got an Instagram account, Whisk and Spatula, and my Facebook group is facebook.com/group/Let's Cook Spain. And that's a really fun place just to post questions about Spanish food in general. So I encourage you to join that group if you want. It's about 1,700 people. Everyone's really nice in it. There's minimal drama in that group. I mean, Jim's part of it and he can attest to that.
I was just gonna say, it's of all the Spanish food groups that I've been involved with, that one is the least, has the least arguments and things like that. Is everybody's very friendly in that group.
Oh, thank you, Jim.
And Jim does all kinds of sausages at home.
Yeah, Jim does amazing sausages and
He
it's very
does.
adventurous with his cooking. So I can always rely on Jim having cooked something that he'll post on the group. Let's see.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you get all these foods when you are doing the Camino? Do you stop at restaurants or somebody's cooking along the way? Or how do you connect the food to the people walking?
Well, there's always places along the Camino offering the pilgrim's menu. Some of these foods are on pilgrim's menus. Others, I seek them out. Sometimes I went, particularly in bigger towns, I would try to go to a slightly nicer restaurant to try something different. You know, when I got to Astorga, I had heard of the cocido maragato, so I went asking, where can I have the best cocido maragato? And they send me to a restaurant. When I got to Hospital de Órbigo, someone told me about the sopa de trucha. Someone had told me before, so when I got there, I had it on a pilgrim's menu, but I said, I'm having this because someone mentioned this to me, which I may not have had it if someone not had mentioned that was from that area.
Well, what I'm going to do is take your book with me when I go in the Camino and find these foods.
Yeah. A couple questions that I see. Where is the best place to purchase your book? My website, whiskandspatula.com/books. Another question I see, what about vegetarians? Vegetarians, I think throughout the years, I've been walking the Camino since 2011, so 10 years now. I think there are more and more options for vegetarians, not necessarily vegans, but vegetarians.
When you go through Hospitalera training, you make vegan dinners, talk about how to do that for communal dinners.
Vegan or vegetarian?
Both.
Okay, good to know that. And what I will say is that if you're a vegetarian, you should make an effort, if you don't know Spanish, in learning some of the dishes. Understand that when we say the word meat in Spanish, carne, we are often referring to red meat. Carne does not mean it excludes fish. So if you say, oh, I don't eat carne, they will think tuna is fine. So know these things, these cultural aspects and learn. I mean, it's the same like if you had an allergy, you would make an effort to learn those words in Spanish, or a medical condition. It's the same thing. So make an effort to learn what you like to eat and what you don't like to eat. So, or So,
And
it's-
also your medical conditions.
yeah, exactly.
Anything that's particular to you that might need attention or explanation, you need to be able to express.
Yosmar, something else, and everyone, something else that has worked here in Jacksonville in our chapter. A lot of the pilgrims had asked me to write down in 3x5 cards name of the foods that they want to try in Spanish, so they can just show it to the restaurant when they get there. So if you can find a translation, or you can find somebody that knows Spanish really well and is willing to help you out, you now have my email, so you guys can always email me and I can tell you. I'm sure that Yosma will be willing to help you too. But that really works, because sometimes when you're on the Camino, you forget words. So just a little notebook or 3x5 cards of what you want to try. And I tell you, great place to start is with Yosma's recipe, and be ready to gain 10 pounds minimum.
Well, yeah. So I see a couple more questions in the chat. I haven't walked yet, but I know some restaurants might only have the pilgrim menu available earlier in the evening. Can you find many of the delicious choices on lunch menus so you don't have to stay up late to eat them in the evening? Absolutely. A lot of restaurants offer a menu del día for lunch as well, so you can find them. Then this has been amazing. Someone, wondering if you have a big, I have yet to do the walk. I'm wondering if you have a big meal for lunch, then lighter at the end of the day. For me, that depended on day by day, just depending on what time I arrived in town. Sometimes if I arrived later, like at 4 or 5, that wasn't really, I would eat a light lunch on the way or a snack. But if I arrived early, I might have a bigger meal. Or
sometimes you're so tired you don't want to eat.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just
that
you're
never
too
happened.
tired to eat.
That never happened to me. My metabolism was always revved up. I was always hungry. But like, in Astorga, I wanted to have the cocido maragato, and I went for a late lunch, and that was my only meal. So.
Did you go to the restaurant called the Maragato?
Casa Maragato.
Yeah, cool.
And folks, understand that in Spain, lunch is not from 11:30 to 1 like in America.
Exactly. So, let's see, I have, that was that.
What time is lunch?
Lunch usually starts around 1:30.
Thank you.
1:30 or even 2 at times.
It's like the siesta.
Yeah. Right before the siesta. The siesta starts around 3. So.
Yosmar, could you talk about the most popular tapas that you have found throughout the Camino Frances? I mean, tapas.
I think the most popular tapas are things that are quintessentially Spanish, like croquetas or tortilla española. But then there's like little pinchos or montaditos, that is basically a concoction of ingredients, like maybe jamón serrano with a little bit of cheese on a piece of toast. Or there's one that I love in Santiago that is made with crab meat on top of a piece of toast. It's called montadito de cangrejo. Also tapas. I mean, you need to understand that there's tapas, there's pinchos, there's
Right.
Pinchos are something very small on a skewer. And a lot of what's called, and it comes more from like the Basque country in the north, but you can find them all over Spain. And it's basically a small portion, it's a slice of bread with a small portion of concoction of ingredients. And they have a variety, like I showed in one of the pictures early on. And usually it has like a skewer in it, and you lift it with that skewer. Tapas is a little bit bigger than the pincho. And then there's raciones, which is a bigger portion, and it's better for groups. Other tapas that I like is setas al ajillo, mushroom and garlic. And it's basically saltine mushroom with olive oil and garlic and parsley. And just a cheese board is amazing too. So, and olives and almonds, etc. So if you're asking me the most famous, so that's like choosing the favorite child. That I don't have any children, but I don't want to be in that position, you know. So
They got me into trouble. I was losing weight, but boy, there's the food is so tempting and so delectable. I just couldn't help eating.
Yep, it is.
Yosmar, those mushrooms that you were talking about, that's got to be one of my absolute favorite things. I tell you, every time I see them on a tapas menu, it's a go-to.
Yeah, because it's not heavy, it's earthy, and it's just amazing.
But Yosmar, how they taste so? Is it the soil, the terroir that makes it so tasty in Spain, and then here when we try making it, they don't quite come. I mean, several different recipes, but they don't quite taste the same.
Well, I think that's part of it, but the only other part that I think is that the olive oil that you're using. That's a big factor. And you know, I have a few different olive oils in my kitchen. And some I use for particular dishes to ensure that I get that flavor. You know, for my everyday cooking, I buy California Rancho everyday olive oil. It's labeled everyday olive oil. And it's a good oil for what it is, but the flavor can be bland. I wouldn't use that olive oil to make a salad dressing or for mushrooms, you know, setas al ajillo, or my gambas al ajillo, because I would lose it. I wouldn't feel it. But to me, it's a combination of the mushroom and the olive oil. Jim,
Let me ask you something.
Hold on one second. Let me ask Jim, because he makes that dish a lot. What do you think?
Oh, I agree 100%. The olive oil can make or break it. I just used up my last bottle from Ajigal de los Asaterios, and I don't know what I'm going to do now because I can't go back to Spain and I don't know where to get more.
Oh boy.
B, you had a question?
Well, how do you make sure that you're getting real olive oil? Because there is so much fake olive oil in the market. We are getting something from, it's called, well, I don't have it here. But anyway, it is really difficult to know that you're really getting authentic olive oil. How do you know that?
Well, I think, I wouldn't say that there's a lot of fake olive oil. There's a lot of blends. I try to go to purveyors that I know, like La Tienda. There's another called Mediterranean here in the Spanish table, and they really sell really good olive oils. And at the end of the day, you need to start trying them to see what you like and what you don't like. I mean, it's like anything. It's the more you try something, the more educated you're going to be in the process. If it has a vintage on it, I buy it in a more recent vintage. Something that's older won't be as fresh. If possible, I try to see if there's a single varietal or single estate. But that tends to start getting a little bit fancier and more expensive. I don't think, as much as people say that an olive oil or that Costco has amazing olive oil, I don't subscribe to buying 5 gallons of olive oil at once. If you're trying to make something unique and refined, etc. So yeah, like everything, you're going to pay for a good quality. So Jim, I saw you with your bottle of olive oil.
That's the one that, boy, if you can find this, it was, I'll buy more in a second. And you're right. I'll try and share a picture because my camera's not picking it up in the light. I'll take a picture and share it. But I mean, I buy olive oil from Costco, but that's kind of like what Yosmar was saying. That's my everyday if I'm going to fry something up, or
Mm.
I'm not really too concerned about it, I'll use that. But if I'm going to put it into something that's going to absorb the flavor, like mushrooms, shrimp, if I'm going to make a salad dressing, you really, I'm not saying you can't use stuff from Costco. I'm just saying it won't be as good. And good is always it's always a subjective thing. I like what I like. People are gonna like what they like, but there is a depth of flavor that you're not gonna get from a big jug. I'll just put it that way.
Yosmar, I have a question for you. Do you ever shop for olive oil or anything else at Delicias Españas in Miami area?
I do. I have not, I've shopped for, okay, caldo gallego. Any Galician will tell you to make true caldo gallego, you need unto. Unto is a fat that is, that comes from the intestine of the cow, and it's preserved in salt. And so it has, and it's smoked. So it has smokiness, saltiness, and fattiness. Everything that makes food good. You know, those three things. Unto is hard to come by in the US, but Delicias España has it. I've also bought Spanish paprika there. I've bought a few ingredients and jamon serrano and some cheeses there. I've not bought olive oil from there. Usually my olive oil, I've bought, I'll tell you the stores. I recently got one from, I'm very fortunate in that, you know how people usually bring wine to your house as a gift?
Yes.
A lot of people bring me olive oil, really nice olive oil, which I love. So I get gifted olive oil, and the only, quite frequently, nice olive oil. The only olive oil that I actually end up buying is my everyday olive oil. But I've bought olive oil for gifts from Fresh Market here in Florida. I know there's Fresh Market in Georgia. In the Texas area, I've gotten some amazing olive oil from Central Market. And then I've received olive oil from La Tienda, as well as this place, Mediterranean. It is very, very good. What else can I tell you? Well, was that your question?
Yeah, no, the reason why I ask is because I may be able to offer I'm going to Miami in about probably 4 weeks, and anyone in the Jacksonville area, including my brother Jim in Atlanta, I can purchase some authentic Spanish olive oil in Delicias España in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And just, bring it if
You
they're
may
interested.
want to check, because one of the stores from them, I think, closed down due to a fire.
Yes, the one on Red Road and
Exactly.
40.
Yeah, and that's the one I usually used to go to. So, and the other one's a little bit smaller, but it's an amazing little store.
Yeah, there's another nice store in Doral. No, it's not Delicias España. It's another name, but boy, they are Spaniards and they bring everything. They import everything in. And anyway, I'll send you the link to that one.
Oh, that would be wonderful to know, because I'm not aware of that one. And that purveyor said Mediterranean is based here in South Florida as well. And then La Tienda and the Spanish Table are pretty much the biggest purveyors in the US. And they have some very good product, both of them.
And in Asheville, folks, curate.
Yeah.
I tell you, if you're ever in Asheville and you want to have some really good Spanish food, go to curate. And curate means healing.
Yeah.
So it's very good. I mean, very good food. Next year, when we have our national gathering in Asheville, we're going to sneak out and have a group go to curate and have a grand time eating and drinking.
Mm-hmm.
There's also an online site called Yummy Bazaar, and they have a great selection of Spanish olive oils.
Yummy.
Sounds bizarre, huh? It is.
No.
Yummy Bazaar. They have imported foods from every country, but a really good selection.
Yes.
Could you type that into the chat
Sure.
box the address?
No.
Thank you, Gail.
Coming right now.
So,
Yeah, maybe.
Yosmar, as you walk through the various caminos, could you talk a little bit about the dishes and the wines that you enjoy with them? Like,
Ooh, the wines. Okay, so I'm gonna talk. I had some very basic wines, Vino de la Casa, that were very good, and then I had some very nice wines. My favorite ones happen to be from Galicia, and the reason being is they're white wines, the Albariños and the area of Rías Baixas. They tend to be light, minerally, and not too sweet. And even for a person that, I've always considered myself a red wine drinker, and I really enjoy my Albariño. And I find that even people that say that they don't like white wine, once they have a good Albariño, they've become a convert. They are also, there's also Riberos that are very good. And then of course, La Rioja, there's some amazing wines there. I mean, every region has some really, really good wines. And I encourage you to try them. And sometimes it's good just to pay a little bit more for a better bottle of wine. It's going to be it still will be much cheaper than whatever you would pay here in the US. You know, a 10 euro bottle of wine or even an 8 euro bottle of wine in Spain is like the equivalent of a $25 bottle of wine here in the US in terms of quality. So I encourage you to try, like, it's okay to have a Vino de la Casa, but also every now and then just go and buy a nicer bottle of wine because there are some amazing wines.
yeah, when I hear some pilgrims complain that they didn't, well, they were in the Camino, they didn't like the Spanish wines. I told them, I said, you know, I know they give you the house wine, Vino de la Casa, when you sit down for a meal, but there are times when that Vino de la Casa is very, very good.
There are times when it's award winning, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I said, and you need to venture out. So when you go out, order yourself a bottle of wine. Take a risk and explore. And going back to the Albariño, we like to do annual wine tasting in Jacksonville in our chapter. And we drank the Albariño. Everybody fell in love with that Albariño. And I know my co-coordinator loves white wine, and she loved that Albariño. But one of the things walking through Galicia and some of the Albariño vineyards that I observed, and I have a picture by one, is they have rose bushes planted right with the vineyards. And I'm wondering if the roses and the structure is impacting the soil and the vineyards.
Well, let me talk about that. Because I do know a little bit about the structure. You know, I used to live in Northern California, and the vines there are usually like very thin vines that are trellised with wires. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And then I showed you in the beginning of my presentation some of the vineyards that I walked through in La Rioja. And I mean, I can go back to the presentation if you wish to show you this picture. Hold on. Hold on. And it's almost like a tiny little tree, the vines here. Like they're so old that they create kind of little with grapes. Oh, here it is. You see the picture on the left? Look at that trunk. It's like a little trunk. The vine, and it's almost self-sustaining. You don't need those wiring to hold up the vines. In Galicia, what you find is, and I'm going to try to find a picture of this. If you allow me 1 second, I'm going to Google a picture of what they call parras. Parras, let's see if I find a picture that I can show you. Hold on. Trying to go here to show you what's a barra. Barra basically is these granite structures. And let me share my screen. Where was it? The picture. So here you have these granite columns, and then they have trellises on top. You'll see this picture on the right. And then the grapes grow on top of these trellises. And the reason for that is to, you know, Galicia is a very wet area, and it's to keep the grapes away from the ground and avoid the moisture that creates the mold. And many of the Albarino grapes, they are hand harvested because machinery can't go through these tunnels of granite columns or the parras. So they're hand harvested. Yeah, and the rose bushes usually are because pests tend to attack the roses first, and it gives the harvester a signal that.
Oh, we don't know yet.
That there might be some pests, and they can take precautions. So that's why you have the rose bushes usually near vines, particularly
so beautiful.
Yeah, in areas that it's more moist, you want to have that advance warning, if at all possible.
And then on the Camino del Norte, for those of you that are very interested in the Camino del Norte, not only because of its beauty, some of you have spoken to me about it, but also because of the culinary adventure, especially in one of the places like San Sebastian, which has the most Michelin starred restaurants in the whole Spain, I believe. But up in that Basque country, you got the Chacoli wine, which is absolutely, it's a white, well, you got the red one, but the white one has an effervescence to it without being a cava.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible, especially with those pinchos and that fresh seafood in that area is amazing.
Yeah, so I see one more message. Okay. Any other questions that I can answer?
Hey, Yosmar. My name is Adam. I'm visiting from Wisconsin. Thank you so much for the presentation, and thanks for inviting us here. I don't have a question per se, but do you mind if I just, relative to what you're talking about, I just hoped it would be okay if I just shared a short, very short story.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm just, you had mentioned really early on in your presentation about simplicity, and that was, I have a bunch of food sensitivities, and so I miss out on a lot of the more exotic and gourmet experiences. But I found it to be like a really unexpected blessing. Just like the host said, I have a little allergy card that I carry around with me, and I also went to the trouble of I could go on tangents, but suffice to say that I learned enough Spanish to stumble along. Even though I missed out on the experience of having like really fancy meals, I felt that I was alternately blessed by just the amazing hospitality and patience and generosity of the people in the restaurants and the hospitaleros and stuff like that. Like I would go in and I would explain in my halting Spanish, like, I have alergias, like, do you have anything that I can eat? And and I would just basically put myself in their hands, and every single time they produced some kind of delicious meal for me. And so that was just a real cool experience for me. Like, so I didn't get the checklist of all the cool foods and meals, but I instead got this really kind of enhanced experience of hospitality on my Camino, which was pretty cool.
I'm glad to hear that. And again, you see a little effort on your part went a long way. And I can't stress that enough, not only in terms of food and medical conditions and allergies, but in general. It's just common courtesy, And I remember my first Camino, I ended up meeting this wonderful group of Irish pilgrims. And the reason we started talking is they didn't know were English. And initially we would always be having dinner around the same time. And it's almost like they waited until I ordered my food in the next table, and they would come and see what I was eating. And if they liked it, they'd ask me, what is that? And then they would order it. And then finally I told them, I think like the third time one of them did that, I said, you know, if you need me to translate the menu, I'll do it. And so then we became just buddies, and we had dinner together pretty much every night. But it was just kind of funny, you know, how people act. But it's, if you know, common courtesy phrases, what you can and cannot eat, and you're kind in the way that you ask, people will go the extra mile. It's like a little investment to get a big return. You will get a big return if you do those things.
Yeah,
A little
absolutely. Yeah,
humility goes a
yeah.
long way instead of bravado.
Yeah, as well. So thank you, Adam, for sharing that story.
Yeah, thank you.
Yosmar, something that we started doing with the Atlanta chapter is that we held our first joint hike. And it was terrific. It was a weekend long. And of course, Jim and his wife were the chefs extraordinaire. They prepare fabulous, fabulous food. Everybody brought in dishes to accompany their paellas. I mean, it was amazing. We have pork, everything. But next time we do it, we had to put a hold on them because of the pandemic. But next time we're going to have a joint hike. We're going to invite you to come and join us.
I want to go. I was going to say I want to go.
Well,
I used to be a chapter coordinator like Miriam and Jim and Ann and Susan, and then I joined the board, and you know, things change, and I don't feel like I attend chapter events much anymore. So now I'm envious. I want that.
well, we went to what's called the Little Grand Canyon of the East Coast, at Providence Canyon in Atlanta, in Georgia. And Jim did all the homework, and he found this marina state park type of area where they had incredible cabins that we could rent. And then you also had RVs, hookups, and you had sleeping bags. I mean, a tent area, camping area. And everybody had a blast. I mean, it was like we didn't want to come home. It was just an absolute delight. It was so, yeah, we're hoping to do one maybe the end of this year. Who knows? Maybe early next year. Who knows what's going to happen? No one knows. But we're definitely going to invite you, and we hope you come and join us.
Yeah, we would love to have you. We would definitely love to have you. It was so much fun. And it really was a lot of fun just with the two chapters coming together and seeing what do we do different? What do we do the same? We did something with the Western North Carolina Asheville chapter a couple of years ago too. And it's to see how other chapters work can really open your eyes to, you know, maybe you see something you never thought of. The other cool thing about the weekend with the Jacksonville chapter, when we finished, the park is down in Southwest Georgia. When we finished, we drove up, or some of us drove up about an hour north of there. And one of the, I think it's 3 total places in the US that has Iberian pigs is in that area. So we got to go see that too. So there's one in Texas, there's one in Georgia, and I think there's a third, and I don't remember where the third one is. But so we saw the Iberian pigs, and you know, it was pretty amazing. They had just done their first slaughter that year, and so we were like, oh, we could get some. And I did manage to get some tocino, and oh my goodness, it was so good.
I want to do that so badly, Jim. I'm in.
All right, awesome.
Okay,
once everything opens back up, we'll Miriam and I are definitely going to plan something again.
Cool.
Folks, our time with Yosmar is coming to a close. She has another engagement tonight. This young woman is always on the go. And I want to say something, and I don't know if her bio addressed it or not, but Yosmar's skills, culinary skills, are so impressive that she's even dazzled the Spaniard. She's been invited to Spain. And so hopefully in our next joint gathering, we be the recipients of her skills, Jim. I'm ready to eat.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's, I always love to cook for others, and I don't take the opportunity to cook for others for granted. I don't know if it's a function of living alone, but
It
not
is.
having people to cook. So I don't take that for granted.
I'll bring some Arujo.
Great, wonderful. That's worth gold in this country.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
We're gonna land in Jim's house here pretty soon. Oh gosh. Yosmar, thank you so very much. Does anybody have last questions? Anything? Susan? Any comments? Do you have any questions? Anybody? Well, thank you so much, Yosmar. We certainly appreciate you, and thank you to Anne and her chapter in Southwestern Wisconsin and the people from Atlanta. And I saw 2 friends from Orlando. So thank you all. And absolutely, I bow to my Jacksonvillians. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope to see some of you tomorrow at the pop-up hike. And if you cannot make it to the pop-up hike tomorrow, please come out on Sunday for the monthly hike in Guana Park Sunday. And stay tuned because Susan has a 6-part series presentation about the variants of the Camino Frances coming up. And that's going to be announced after tomorrow, okay? Yosmar, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Your
Thank you all
applause, yes.
for
Thank
showing
you.
up.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for the
Thank
invite,
you
Miriam.
all.
It was great, Yosmar.
Thank you, and I miss seeing you.
Likewise.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night. Blessings to all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night. Good night.